Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Good to see you all. I hope you're all having a fantastic Sunday. I know that I am. Love spending my time here with you guys on Sundays. We will be going for 90 minutes today. We've got Dion Talk Financial Freedom, who I believe is going to be able to stop in today, hang out with us a little bit, tell me how I'm wrong. So super excited about that. Although we haven't really heard that in a very long time. I wonder if it's just Dion getting soft in his older years and retirement. But I doubt it. So excited to be here with you guys. As I said, kind of in the title of this one, 22-year investor. I've got 124 units, 43 buildings now. We just did our very first really creative financing deal. With a lot of moving parts to it, still in the works, but happy to talk about that today. I think the other thing too is, how some of the tips and tricks that I've used to buy some of the properties that I'm looking at, because there are plenty of them. And I think that too often people miss the really simple stuff. A lot of agents create this adversarial relationship between them and the other agent, to like somebody has to win and somebody has to lose. Last time I checked, they both get commissions when the deal closes. And so I think if you can give guidance to the agents that you're working with, to ask them to, really leverage my reverse offer strategy, ask what's important. Why are you putting together an offer that you think is awesome? Based on what? Based on what you think is awesome. You're not buying from you. You're buying from somebody else. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. What would you like most to hear from your agent? Hey, you know what? Somebody actually asked what the three most important things are to us. What are those three most important things? I mean, price, sure. Price is always in there. Sometimes it's price, and price. Like the most important thing is location, location, location. Other times, more often than not, it's more than price. It is price. It is people are nervous about inspections because they don't want to owe a bunch of money and potentially have a deal fall apart. So there's urgency on their part to make sure their deal doesn't fall apart. Sometimes it's they want to be there for another 60, 90 days because they're not sure they're going to be able to get stuff out, especially for me, where I buy stuff from people that have had it for years and years and years. I mean, 10, 20, 30, 40 years they've owned these properties. They don't want to quick hurry up and be out in 45 days. To them, that's like, oh my word, we just signed and oh my word, I'm under the gun. They want 90 days. That might behoove you to get the 90 days. Now it's a little bit more difficult with rates. But having an understanding of what that looked like, because largely rates are only going to go up, certainly for the time being, I believe. So I think one of the really important things is part of my strategy was really asking people what was important. I used the strategy on buying my own single family house for myself and for my family. Was I asked what were the three most important things to them. Theirs was price, time to close, and because they'd have deals fall out of escrow before, they wanted to make sure that they knew that I was going to close. So having not only a proof of funds letter, or actually bank statement. Here's proof of funds that I can afford the deposit that I'm talking about. Number two, I would actually fashion them with my credit score, saying there's no reason for the bank to say no to me. And three was timing, making sure that I could meet their timing. Knowing that their deal had fallen out of escrow. The house that I bought, the deal had fallen out of escrow for hundreds of thousands more. Hundreds of thousands. So I don't want to hear the complaints. I stuck with it. I did the work daily. I stuck on it on the deal. I made sure that we were asking all the questions. In my line of business, my line of work in the real world, we call it telling ain't selling, because telling ain't selling. Ask meaningful questions with purpose, but also ask meaningful questions with purpose that also make sure that it truly does have concern in them, making sure that they understand that, hey, we're in the same boat that you are. You guys want to sell, we want to buy. We want to know what the three most important things are to you. And maybe those things are the three most important things to us, but maybe they aren't, you know? So I would strongly encourage you guys, you got to be more interactive with your agents. Agents can't guess this stuff. And especially the 80% of agents out there that are garbage, there's 15% that are pretty good. And then there's 5% that are elite. Obviously, you need to be working in those 20, that 20%. But that being said, you have to drive that relationship and recognize that you need to study. It's your check that's being written. It's your money on the line. It's where you're going to live or where you're going to invest. Their job is to facilitate a transaction. Yours is to make sure that that transaction is exactly what you want it to be, or what you're willing to work with and settle for. And I think too often people say settle is a bad thing. Settle's not a bad thing. Compromise is both sides not getting exactly what they wanted, but being able to live with the terms. We were able to live with the terms on this house that I'm broadcasting to you from today. And again, we saved hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was really hard to see a house that I really liked come off the market and go to pending. I still stuck with it. I still watched. And the deal fell apart. So anyway, hopefully that encourages you guys. I want to make sure that you guys are still working on the daily, recognizing that there's going to be a lot of external noise. Guys, it's only going to get louder. It's only going to get worse. It's only going to get more obnoxious. Be still, doing the work, and know that your data and your information is far more valuable than someone else's feelings or thoughts on the matter. The number of people that give me opinions, and they gave me opinions when I was going to be a landlord 20 years ago, and I decided that's what I was going to do to make sure I could retire early. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm not going to want to get up for that 7 a.m. call or that 3 a.m. call. Do you know that in 22 years, I have only gotten 3 phone calls after 11 o'clock at night? 3. That's it. 3. In 22 years. 3. So largely that doesn't happen. And if it's the same tenant and it's happening over and over, I think you know what the answer there is. So hopefully that helps you guys out. Again, Lumberjack Landlord, appreciate all you guys jumping on, spending time with me today. We're only going to go about 90 minutes. That's going to be the new format. I see Phil already jumped in with a, was it Phil? Sorry. Ryan, sorry. Saw Ryan already jumped in with a super chat. The way we do super chats here is we're going to do it for probably only another week or two. Is every single question that you ask with a super chat, A, it goes to the top of the list. B, it gets your name entered into a drawing for one of these awesome Lumberjack Landlord t-shirts. This print run is only 144. That's it. We only did 144 of this print run. We have another one coming out, another version, but we're going to be changing up the versions. And as we get bigger, we'll do more print runs, but this print run is only 144. That's it. That's all of this print run in the world. This exact logo, just like this, will not be used again on a shirt. It's 144. That's it. The next logo has already been selected for the next shirt. So that's it. 144 of this shirt. That's it. And if you win one in the drawing today, I'll sign it anywhere you want. Back panel, top right, anywhere you want. Phil Neal, we got your back. Thanks, Phil. I appreciate that. Phil, ask a question, my man. I don't want to just take your money. I want to answer questions for you, my friend. So yeah, these shirts, limited print run, 144. That's all we're doing with this logo. You won't see this logo on a black shirt again. It might go on a different shirt, but you won't see this logo on a black shirt again. And it's me actually holding a house. So yeah, we have a few of these different logos. And again, we're only doing print runs. This one was 144. When you do a super chat and you ask a question, you go to the top of the list. I make sure to answer your question. And then I start trying to work my way through. As it continues to roll, we'll keep on going through that path. Yeah, I think that's basically it. I know Dion will jump on shortly. So last thing that I have for you guys is, as a tenant, if you are a tenant, No, let's do this on the landlord side first. If you are a landlord, it is your responsibility to give great service. Absolutely your responsibility. You get a call, you want a fast turnaround, but even if you can't give the best turnaround, you have to communicate. You have to tell them, listen, I called 3 or 4 places. This is the best and fastest time I can get them there. This is the best that I can do, but they will be there at this time. This is what they're saying. People might be unhappy with that, but it's fair. It's the best that you could do. You called a bunch of places and this is the best that you can do, right? Setting that expectation, under promise, over deliver. The next thing that you need to make sure as the landlord is that you're following up with them, making sure, hey, did the job get done well? And are we all set? That way you truly can check the box. You know, it's good. You know, you're done. You know, they're happy. Or they might not be happy, but it's still resolved. But treat that relationship with respect. Treat it with a level of urgency. This is a services business. And make sure that there's a level of excellence there. Because if you let some hack into your places and you start hacking the deals up, one hack, and before you know it, it's 5 years later and you've had a hack in there doing repairs, guess what? You're going to have a bunch of stuff to do when that tenant finally splits because you're going to have to do it the right way. Make sure they're doing quality work. On the tenant side, don't be a dick. Sorry for the language. Don't be that. Because at the end of the day, for me, I have 400 tenants. I want to service. I want to get you what you need as quickly as possible. But you'd have to agree that your broken handle on your cabinet is not as important as a leak that I have to make sure is getting taken care of. So don't be rude. At the end of the day, I'm not saying that you need to apologize for calling because you're making a service request, but just say, you know, again, fire, flood, blood. This is a Dion rule. I love this rule. Fire, flood, or blood, call me. Everything else, text. Text, or for us, we actually have a portal that we let our clients go into. We assign you a portal. You can go right into the portal and you can update what the issue is. And then we take that and we assign it to somebody else. When we have people that we do business with and they're like, oh, hey, yeah, can you do this? I always just say, put it in the portal. We'll make sure we get it done. Well, no, I told you about it. No, put it in the portal. If you want it done and handled, we need it there so we can then assign it. I'm not going to go home, write a ticket for you, fill it all out, and then say, no. If you need something done, fill it out, send it off. That's how it goes. That's how things get done the fastest. Somebody was like, yeah, when you did that, it was done within 6 hours. Yeah, exactly. It's because it was in the system. You didn't have to wait for me to take it and then wait to get time with the maintenance guy or this guy or that guy and get it. No. It went in the system. Follow the process. This is how we're able to manage 124 units, 400 tenants. This is how we're able to do that, is because we have process built in. Process is key. So I see that we're having a bunch of super chats stacking up. I want to make sure we get to that super chat for folks because this is a rockin' t-shirt. It really is. And it's actually, I want your feedback. I went through a lot of shirts before I picked this one because it was so stinking comfortable. Anyway, I digress. So let's get through some questions real quick. We'll start with the super chats and then we'll try and wrap at the top. Ryan Allen, hello from Lexi and I. How's the family doing? Hello, Lexi. How you doing, Lexi? Keep on doing that work with your dad. It will turn out, I promise. Then you'll be able to have lots of real estate when you're older and only get to work the job you want to. That's how it goes. It's going well, family as well. We did our yard sailing yesterday. We'll post some pics of that today. We were able to squeeze one in today after breakfast. That was shocking that it was around, but we were able to go over and hit that yard sale. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, so it was a blast. It was a good time. So thank you for asking. And you're in the raffle, my man. 20-sided die. Phil Nealon, we got your back. Thank you, my man. I appreciate that. So guys, the like button and the super chats is what really tells YouTube that this thing is rolling and this is valuable information and people are finding value in this. Obviously, if I'm not giving you guys value, ask better questions. I'm kidding, of course. But I just share my journey with you because I know what it was like in my first 5 years of landlording. I had no one to turn to. I had no one to ask questions about. Everything was trial and error. Everything cost me more money. It was a nightmare. So I really encourage you guys, ask questions. Tell me what you're dealing with. I can't give you advice per se, like obviously none of this is financial advice. I'm just telling you my experience and you pick and pull what is helpful and valuable to you. Dion talk financial freedom. Thanks, Dion. When should the average person choose to retire? When they can cover such a trap. When they can cover all of their expenses with whatever side hustle they've chosen. That's when you should retire or could retire. There's always extenuating circumstances, but that's when you can choose to retire. The average person is, you have a life where your expenses are a third or a quarter of what your income is. And I'm telling you guys, this is what I love about Dion's story. He doesn't want to build a big company. I didn't really want to build a big company either. I just got really good at buying deals that really heavily cash flowed. And I said, so long as I'm having fun, I'm going to keep going. So far, I'm at 124. And by the end of the month, I think we're going to be at 130 something. I'll keep on doing it so long as it's fun. And I'll keep on doing YouTube as long as it's fun and I can answer your guys' questions and I can help, which I think I can. What I love about Mike at One Rental at a Time is Mike Zuber is he's really broken up his channel perfectly. He doesn't self-manage. He wouldn't know how to, change out or bleed a hot water system. He wouldn't know how to do that. And that's okay. But I know how to do that stuff. One pipe steam, oil burners. I won't touch gas. But I can diagnose what's going on with the system, low water cutoffs, any of that stuff. I've lived it for 20 years. So we're always here to make sure to share that knowledge with you guys. And I've got some amazing guests coming, like some amazing guests. They're really just waiting for winter until kind of things slow down for them in the wintertime. So I've got some amazing guests coming for you guys, and I'm really excited to share that time with them. Oh, it looks like we have our guest. There he is. Just wait for his. You're on mute. There you go. Look at that, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed on a Sunday morning.
Howdy.
That's awesome. So how's it going, pal?
I had to kill I was watching you and it was giving me feedback.
I was gonna say, I thought I heard the sound of my own voice, and that doesn't. I don't really like it, so I'm glad we changed that. Let's see. So Tony Car 55, thanks for the product reviews. Lights and locks working and look good for the money. Tony, thanks for the feedback. Yeah, I think that stuff is awesome. That's the same products that we use. We actually are getting really far on the we'll call it the 295 project, which is a big 163-year-old building that I was dumb enough to rehab. We'll be sharing a bunch of stuff with you guys because we are just finishing the electrical and plumbing rough. So we're going to do a tour of that building, and then we'll actually show you all and then we'll show you the insulation and strapping that we're going to do there. For those of you who don't know what strapping is usually 1x pine that you actually screw into all of the joists and all of the studs on the wall. And you do that to give your sheetrock guys an easier screw point. There's a lot of things in there that I just said that can be completely construed as inappropriate. The good news is this is a this is the housing channel, and so they're all good. So I'm glad that you like those, Tony, and I've got more coming. I've got a bunch of product in my office where I need to I'm going to sit down. I actually have exciting news. My new studio is done this week. So I will be in the new studio this week. And that is actually first on my list is literally a bunch of these product reviews things. Mad 76, I've never seen your name before. I'm super excited that you'd ask a question, and I'm honored for the super chat and happy to enter your name into the drawing for the chat. Is it a good idea to have an investor is it good idea to have an investor down payment, get ready to rent as first home quadplex living in one of them, renting 3? Suggestion how to set this deal. Mad 76. I love it. That is awesome. That's 4321. Look at my channel. It's the one where I have the worst t-shirt that I own. Dion likes to say that shirt needs to be thrown out from the collar. It's my Red Sox t-shirt from their last championship. That's how worn it is. But look at that 4321 video there. That's about 20-25 minutes long. That covers all of those things. If you have additional questions, just post it on that video because I'm still notified when people post on videos. I'll answer your question there. So yes, I love it. The proper way to set that up is all in that video. And so I would encourage you to watch that video and then ask questions if you have a question. Dion, how much of a fan are you of the 4-3-2-1 strategy?
So it kind of seems like the Mad 76 might be new to the channel. Watched a couple of videos.
Yep.
So the 4-3-2-1 method is one he definitely wants to look up, or they definitely want to look up. A couple of things that make it a really attractive thing to do, Mad 76, is we call that house hacking.
Yes.
And two things to consider, a few things. You get to do the low down payment of owner occupancy. Normally, when you buy something like a fourplex as an investor, it's 20 to 30% down, depending on current lending trends. Okay. So owner occupancy, sometimes you can do lower. If you go FHA, it can be 3.5%. There are some lenders out there that will do 10% or 15% down on an owner occupied fourplex. The other thing is you're going to reduce or eliminate your largest expense, which for most of us is housing. And when you run the numbers to find out if there's a good yield on that property, look at it like it's after you've moved out and all 4 units are rented out. That's right. With all 4 units rented and the amount that it cost you to acquire the property, what would your yield be? So it simplifies it a little bit. And the other thing is while you're getting the purchase as an owner occupied loan, you get the best interest rate. If you intend to live on the property, your interest rate is lower than if you're buying an investment. So there's several reasons that make that a really smart way to get started in real estate.
Those are all true things. What Dion says is exactly correct. So yeah, great question. So Mad 76, as I said, 4-3-2-1 strategy right on my channel. And again, you have any questions, put them right there. We'll cover that. We'll also always cover that in live stream. But it takes me 25 minutes to explain it perfectly. So that's why it's there. Flash of Light, good morning. Do I replace filters, clean coils for tenants? It depends on who you talk to. They say sometimes that the filters need to be replaced every 6 months. We leave a filter there for them to change it. However, if they decide not to change it, we will actually, when we have once a year, when we go through, we do a system cleaning. We'll swap the filter. That way, if it's been 6 months, great. If it's not been 6 months, that's okay too. If it's been a year, whatever. So yeah, we will do the system cleaning. We will do the filter changing. As far as coils go, most of that maintenance stuff I take care of because it's the longevity of the equipment. No matter who's in there, no matter who's in there, that work is going to have to be done. That is a maintenance cost for me that I make sure gets done by my tech, who is less expensive than a market tech, and I know the quality of their work. That's really the value of managing that stuff on your own, is you know that stuff isn't neglected, and that's the real key. Dion, your thoughts?
Here's how I look at it. So first, I don't live in Siberia. So our HVAC systems basically just have the filters. We don't have coils or any of those other fancy things that we're talked about.
Well, coils are for, they can be for air conditioning. So I know that because it's not Siberia.
Yeah, we don't have those here either. It doesn't get warm enough. So I'm in the middle. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. It's the Goldilocks
soup every day. Who wouldn't like lukewarm soup every day?
Exactly. I need some pho. So I bring the filters to the residency so that I can do a walkthrough at least once a year. Yeah. If there's a filter that requires tools, like I have one that's got a couple of weird placed filters where I remove part of a wall with the screwdriver, those I do. The ones that you can easily access, I leave the filters and it's in the lease that the tenant will exchange them every 3 months. I leave the spare filters there. I'm not the one living there or breathing the air, so I hope they're changing them. But I don't actually look at the filters because I don't go, and so I'm way too lazy to do it. My handyman is the person that goes with the screwdriver and opens up the wall. So that's how I look at it. One, it's kind of an excuse to do an inspection walkthrough of your property without saying, hey, I'm going to come and do an inspection walkthrough of your property. So my handymen know to tell me things like if they see excessive damage or evidence of a pet in a unit that doesn't have a pet. I don't care that they have pets. I allow pets, but there's a pet fee. So some people try to hide that to save the money, which I don't think I've ever then gone and made them start paying, but I like to be aware if I have honest tenants or not.
That certainly does come into account when the binder strategy is being done.
Correct.
Wonderful. Excellent. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Flash of Light. It is a great question, but again, maintenance, it's a way to get access to the unit that's completely above board. You do want to make sure that you're taking care of your stuff, because I can tell you right now, replacement of items, holy cow, replacement of systems right now is absurd. It is absolutely patently absurd. I was paying for a two-head mini split system installed. I was paying 4,500. Now that same package is about 8,000 or 9,000 bucks. It's doubled for installing for product. For those of you who are doing mini splits, and PS, I don't really like mini splits. Robert Farinelli, hello Matt, got more insulation questions for you. I'm up for an insulation question. I actually see it down below here, so I'm just gonna.
He's got a few of them.
I do. I see him. Perfect.
Okay.
All right. So thanks for your advice last week. Got the fiberglass for about 20% off at Lowe's last week. Still about $400. Not total, not cheap. Agreed. Yep. Recommend insulating the hot water pipes. Does it save money from an IBC? So sure. Anytime, yes. Anytime that you're keeping that heat in the pipe and it's not emitting any heat, the better off you are. So I still always will insulate. It's still forced hot water. And then the likelihood that if you ever have a draft in that basement, if anybody ever left the door open by mistake, you are far less likely to get a freeze up than you would otherwise. And a freeze up, unless you have the tools that I've shown you in the Lumberjack Landlord product reviews, unless you have those tools, you're talking about a couple $100 expense at a minimum. Same return as the boiler pipes. Not sure, since hot water is only 120 Fahrenheit as opposed to the 180. I insulate just because the cost is not that great to do it. And you will actually get the benefit of much less likelihood of a freeze up. And in Siberia, Dion, we have to worry about not getting freeze ups. So that's the big thing, because almost all those basements are much colder than upstairs. And a lot of our basements here are, most people don't know this, they're granite slab block, i.e. they were cut from a big chunk of granite because we're the granite state. They'll actually cut the slabs of granite, break them apart, and then slide them in. And it's kind of like Tetris, but it's oblong Tetris. I'll show you guys what one of those basements looks like in this upcoming video of our 295 project. And then it's usually brick on top. So it's a bunch of stuff that's, generally speaking, fairly porous. And so it does get chilly in those basements. The other thing you can do too is you can add insulation to the bottom of the floor, because a lot of times your first floor might be 70 degrees, but your basement might be 50 or 45. So I do recommend putting insulation around those pipes, just because for the expense of it, it's just so little that why not do it? And then it looks really well done. And then lastly, on the other insulation question, or two more, sorry. How much should I try air sealing my home before I dump money into insulation? Yes. Someone on YouTube was saying insulation is worthless if you don't air seal the gaps. Well, yeah, of course. So you do want to absolutely do as much air sealing as you can. If you have one of those old granite foundations, believe it or not, just use a can of that I've used. I'm not telling you what you to use, but I used a can of great stuff. I literally just put the port in there and fill it up, and it's expandable foam. That expandable foam has worked great for me in cutting down the amount of air. The big thing is around the bricks. What you want to do is you want to be looking for air. You want to be looking for sunlight. So be down in the basement, lights off, and looking around and see if you see any light from the outside. Obviously do it during the day. At night, you're going to have different results. So do it during the day, take a look, see if you see any air. The other thing to do too is that you can also take your hand, if you don't have air, or if you don't have sunlight, you can actually also take your hand and run it across the top of the bricks where the bricks meet the bottom sill of your house, the sill that's wood, the bricks are here. Just take your hand and run it. And if it's freezing cold or really cold or significantly different in cold, then that's where you also want to try and insulate that sill. And you can do that a number of different ways, but look at sill insulation. But those things will usually cut down your air costs the best. The only other thing is if you have a door that you know doesn't shut properly or windows that don't seal properly, you want to have those taken a look at, because yes, air movement is your biggest enemy. A pipe can sit in below freezing and not freeze for quite a while. But when it's blowing air and air circulating over it, it will freeze faster. Dion, go ahead.
So I do everything that you do for different reasons.
Yes.
Two other benefits. So your
Shocker.
reasons are valid. We don't have the, I mean, it can freeze here. I have had a couple of times where a pipe froze. I haven't had one burst yet from it, but water stops functioning.
Yes.
Insulate your hot water pipes because it's a energy conservation. It takes less time for hot water to actually make it to where the person is trying to get hot water.
Sure.
And use the foam seal for a form of rodent control. The less air gaps you have where rodents can get in and out, the easier it is to find out where they're coming in and out and see where you actually might need to seal permanently.
Yeah. The other thing too is when you're doing that from a rodent perspective, the best thing to do is take a Brillo pad, steel wool, and shove that in the hole first and then foam over it. They actually will chew away, and rats are smart enough. Rats actually, their teeth constantly grow. So they're looking for things to chew that file down their teeth, but they can't chew through steel wool. They can chew through the foam, and they can chew through plastic garbage cans, like the cheaper top ones. They can chew through that stuff. So the most important thing that you can do is steel wool, then spray foam. When you've done that, you actually are in pretty good shape because they won't chew through the steel wool. They'll go path of least resistance. They'll go back out the burrow hole that they did, and they'll go somewhere else. But for rodent prevention, absolutely is a valid concern and a great approach for sure. And then I think the last one was such as all the holes in the basement where the wires go up. I buy a can of spray foam. Yep, exactly. The thing you actually want to do there, believe it or not, Robert, is there's something called Fire Block. Great Stuff makes a product called Fire Block. It is orange. That is the one that actually is code to use in those holes. So use the Fire Block there. The reason why is that that is much less susceptible to heat and to flame. And so it will take longer for it to actually pass through the hole. So it gives you a much better burn rating because fire is looking for oxygen. And so it will, literally that's how it goes up into the walls. So Fire Block everything, any passage from the basement to there, Fire Block it. The other thing that you can do too is you can actually get the nozzle up in there, spray, shove in some steel wool foam, and then spray the Fire Block on the bottom of it too, in that hole that you're getting in your sill or in your stud cavity. And that will actually service the need. Class is out of session when it comes to insulation, but there we go. All right, Dividend Dave. $4.99. Thank you, Dividend Dave. I appreciate that. What is the temperature of the inside of a tauntaun? Lukewarm. That's well done. I am a Star Wars guy, and in fact, I am such a Star Wars guy. This is a 1982 version of the re-release of Star Wars. I found this at a yard sale. It is going in my new studio. I love this picture. It's a TIE fighter.
This is my phone. It's Bluetooth, and I play this every time I leave. Might be a little loud. Yes, nerds live here.
I love it. Yes, a tauntaun. So it's really fun right now is with Samuel, my oldest. He is definitely getting into like action figures and things like that. So that is now a thing for us at yard sales. Obviously, everyone knows what the original Star Wars figures are worth, so we're not seeing a whole lot there, but we're doing a killer job on Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars this summer. So it's been a lot of fun. Okay, next super chat is Mad76. I don't have this heating problem here in Florida. Yep, that makes sense. So
just alligators, pythons, panthers.
I know so many things that want to kill you.
Small things.
Yeah. So the
influx of people from states that are going to vote the way they voted out of the states that they made terrible, so they left. No problem to deal with in Florida.
Don't wish that voodoo magic on him. Do not do that. I'm hoping it's other people that will vote the same way.
Yes, you would hope.
Right? You would hope, right? Just for consistency's sake. Andrew Mellencamp, thank you very much for the $4.99 super chat. Andrew, if you have a question, my friend, you're new to the channel. I appreciate that. You're entered
He's got
into
one. It's above it.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yep.
You're the man. How do you pick a market in a huge metroplex, Dallas, Fort Worth, when there are few multifamily listings for house hacking purposes? Dan, you want to take a shot at that one
Sure.
first? Yeah.
So Andrew, which is my son's name, so easy to remember. I should get that one right.
You should.
I hope. If he's mine. But I would always ask, how are you looking? Almost every time somebody says there's no small multifamily in my area, they're looking on Redfin and Zillow, and that never shows on there. Like the deals that I've closed on 2 or 3 months later show up as pending after I've closed.
Yes.
And I have right now probably 5 different real estate agents. I always work with at least 3 that have auto searches set up, and 2 of them that get the exact same, like copy and paste email of my criteria have never sent me a small multifamily house.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't show up for them. So I'd have multiple agents looking. I'd be only looking on the MLS. Not only, I'd make sure I was looking on the MLS. You could still, some areas, Redfin and Zillow might be more up to date. Driving for dollars is a good way to find small multifamily. Look for rentals in your area to find out where the small multifamily are. Makes driving for dollars easier, because there's sometimes areas where a contractor went in at one point and put in 20. All of mine, except for one, are in single family home areas, so I wouldn't have found them that way. Look for houses with ADUs. This is often a missed category. Home buyers don't want it because they're not looking for tenants. And most investors tell their agents, I want small multifamily. And they forget house with an ADU, which works just like a duplex, but qualifies for single family house lending. So in some cases, it's actually better. But you don't know how the agents are going to list it, because different colloquialisms will work in different areas. So you have to look for everything. So I would search for ADU, DADU, granny flat, mother-in-law house, accessory dwelling unit, auxiliary dwelling unit, having no idea what the agent is going to call it when they list it, so that it's more likely to show up in your search. Cliff Notes version.
Yeah, and we've done videos on that. But I'll follow up, Andrew, with this. Our good friend Mike Zuber, One Rental at a Time, he actually has on his channel Prop Stream. And Dion, do you have those guys on your channel?
No.
Prop Stream.
I'm not big
So
enough.
check out the Prop Stream videos on One Rental at a Time. There's actually a link in there that gets you a 7-day free membership. I encourage you, go in there, look for dupes, tries, and quads, and then see what is even available in the city. You might be very right that there's nothing coming available in MLS, but there might be not a lot of that stuff even in the market, period. Here's what I'll tell you. I know Texas is like New Hampshire. New Hampshire has high property taxes, so single family homes cash flowing are hard. They are more difficult to do. I completely understand that. So what I would absolutely be looking at is I would be looking at a product like a Prop Stream, trial membership, see if you find anything. My guess is you will probably find hundreds of hits on duplexes, maybe smaller on tries and smaller on quads. However, you will see what they are. And then if you decide, you know what, this is really something I'm going to do, I think Prop Stream is like $97 a month. I believe. And so maybe you do it for a month, maybe you do it for a couple of months where you actually put together a mailer and market to those people. Because if there are that few of those assets in that market, they're extremely valuable in almost every case. And it's really hard to do that in like I said, a single family market like New Hampshire. Single families really don't cash flow. They're horrible cash flowing investments here. In fact, almost all of them are negative amortization after you just take out for cost. So you're a negative yield on a lot of stuff. So it's the pleasure of owning it. So I'm told. So hopefully that helps you. I did see a question here from Matt Bittner about radon gas in my area. What do you have to do about it? Or what do you have to do about it? So radon gas in my area is extremely, extremely important because we are the granite state and radon gas basically permeates through the rock. And so what's really interesting about radon gas is it used to be a really huge deal. It's still kind of a huge deal, just different huge deal. What I mean by that is they'll typically port a hole in your basement floor, and that gives the radon gas kind of an area where it's going to go to. And then they put a pipe on there with a filter and typically a blower fan. You stick that in the ground, and this is all a professional installation. but in my state, it costs between 12 and $1,500 to put in a radon solution. That's the best bet. The challenge comes into play if you have radon in your water. We actually have radon in our water. There's something called a bubbler. Bubblers are expensive. They're about $4,000 or $5,000. So if you're buying something that has radon gas, you want to probably have your water tested too. When we bought our house, we had the water tested because it was on a well. So I wanted to make sure that the well was a great well. The water tastes fine, but there's things that you can't taste. So when we got that tested, the radon was actually decent, but it's because they actually had a bubbler. And so we were able to check it out too. The other thing too is if you're buying a house that's been dormant for a while, that has a well, you absolutely want to get your water tested, because we found all sorts of horrible stuff when a well's been sitting for a year or two. We found all sorts of horrible stuff. There's a process to clean it. Again, it's less than $1,000 usually to clean out the well. But there is a way to clean it, and then you retest, and then you get that done. For our place, getting water tested is between $150 and $180. So it's not really prohibitive, but that's what I would do with radon. Is if you know you have it and you have that high score, I would absolutely be putting in that pipe. And like I said, there are blowers that you can put on that if for some reason your concentrations are higher than normal. Dion, anything to add to the radon conversation?
Yeah, study your area. Ours are kind of flipped. Radon solution for basement or crawl space areas here, $300 to $500, pretty cheap to do,
Yeah.
Cost effective, I guess. And then I have one well that also services a commercial building next to my property. I've got there's some kind of old contract,
Sure.
and it's like $350 a month testing. It's
Yeah.
a fourplex. Tenants are paying for it, but
$350 a
it's
month.
constantly tested. Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
can't you put a bubbler on it?
It's never had a problem, but to service the commercial building next door, and they also pay a third of whatever costs I incur. So I don't pay the full 350.
Yeah.
My tenants don't pay the full 350. But it has to constantly be updated. Then it has an annual inspection. So wells are different. I prefer well to city water.
Me too.
Because I'm not paying a monthly fee and the well's
Correct.
mine.
Yep.
Same thing. I prefer septic to sewer. So
Yep, I agree with that.
they have their costs, but they are significantly less than being hooked up to city water and sewer.
Oh, it's unbelievably less. So we've had wells that have lasted 45 and 50 years. We've had septic systems with leach fields. We've had those last 40 years. You just have to take care of them. It's really what you have to do. So hopefully that answers the question there, Mr. Bittner. Christopher Leroy, what is position on flooring, carpet cleaning, etc.? Christopher Leroy, I think you're new to the channel. That's why I picked your question. I'll always try and get to folks that are brand new, that aren't super chat. My position is if it's a light problem, like I would do it yourself with like renting the Home Depot thing and doing it yourself. If it's a heavier problem, I would absolutely have a professional company come and do it, because you never know what was actually left behind in carpet. You might see the stain and the stain might disappear, but the stain didn't disappear in the pad and the stain didn't disappear off the floor. So I am a huge non-fan of carpet. Carpet and padding, I hate. The only places that I do carpet and padding are on the stairs, and that's to reduce noise. And also to reduce slip and fall. That's why I actually do carpet on the stairs. Dion?
A lot of new investors will replace carpet with carpet because they haven't done very many projects.
Sure.
And it is a little less costly up front. It's going to have to be replaced sooner. But an investor who's done 2 or 3 flooring replacements or updates,
yes,
will almost always go LVP or something
Yes.
else, because the cleanest, most pristine looking carpet is gross. Once you get the carpet and the padding up, I've never seen
Yeah.
the subfloor not look like someone was murdered there.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's totally right. Rosie Goodwin, closed cell foam for rodents. Yep. Open cell does nothing against rodents. That's true. It's softer and it can be chewed away. The other thing with the closed cell foam though, is that look at the foam density. Great stuff. And I know that Loctite both have a much harder, higher, denser foam. And that means that if the rats or mice chew it, they will die. They'll ingest it and they won't be able to, their body won't process it. Your best bet always is, closed cell foam is unrealistic to put in most rental units because it's usually about 8 times the cost of fiberglass. It's usually about 8x. It's pretty expensive. Let's see here. So, and then the other position on flooring, Christopher, is LVP. It's kind of, the old saying, vinyl is final. It's coming back, and it's because of the vinyl flooring. It might not be final, but the good news is that I would save a couple of boxes anytime I put in a vinyl floor at a place. And we buy in bulk, so we'll actually put it in 10 or 12 or 15 places. So we'll have an extra 14, 15 boxes of that. If somebody ruins a floor, i.e. they drag something across it and scratches a couple of planks, I can pop those out and I can put new ones in. If I have an original wood floor, which I like to keep, the problem that I have is that they get scratched and then I have to sand and refinish the entire floor. I can't just do a spot repair. So that becomes expensive for the tenant. And for me, I want to give the tenant the best shot to get all of their deposit back. If I have carpet, there is zero chance they're getting all the deposit back because I know I'm going to have it professionally cleaned. And then does it still stink? Does it still smell? And there's a way I can get around. No, there isn't. Now I have to replace it. Wood floors, much the same. It's about a couple of bucks a square foot for sanding. And then repolying, it's usually about a couple bucks a square foot because small jobs are more expensive than big jobs. And then the next thing is the laminate vinyl plank. I can usually get that flooring replaced and the cost of the replacement that we need to do. It's usually less than a couple $100, which puts them way far ahead of any of the other options. Dion's, any thoughts on that?
No, there's been a lot of advancements with LVP too. I mean, they come with the pad installed. They're extremely water resistant. I use it in all rooms, kitchen, bathroom, doesn't matter where.
Yep, agreed. Ironwood Workman. Hey, Ironwood, good to have you back. Andrew Mellencamp, sorry, really quick. Andrew Mellencamp, awesome. Thanks, guys. Love all the content. Andrew, you're very welcome. Ironwood Workman. The radon in the water is new to me. Yep, good info. You're welcome. Yeah, it is. It was newer to me probably in the last 5 to 10 years. But wasn't something I knew about in the very beginning of my journey. I do not like using an agent. Good. Yep. Do you guys use real estate lawyers? I use a lawyer. Have you had any need? You always use an agent. That's your thing. One of your things.
I prefer to use an agent. I prefer to develop long relationships that have agents bring deals to me. Agents know handyman and contractors, and that's something that an attorney wouldn't have. If I was going to do a seller finance deal, I would probably use an agent. If I wasn't going through I would use an attorney if I wasn't going through my agent. I think saying I don't like to use an agent means that you've probably had some bad experiences, and agents aren't all made the same.
True.
Find a new one. Because if that was the case, I would never use a title company. I would never use a contractor because we've had bad experiences with title companies and contractors. That doesn't mean they're all bad. It just means that some suck.
It's true. It's very true. So in the creative financing deal I'm doing, I'm just using an attorney and a closing company. So no agents fees. It's actually quite nice. Matt Bittner, black plastic rat poison boxes work pretty good too. They do. I like them because they're outside. The problem is if they've already penetrated the structure of the house, they can go inside and die there. Most of that poison does not work. There's some really good stuff out there. I don't remember the brand name, but it works within like 24 to 48 hours. But most rat poison works in 5 to 7 days. You have no idea where they're going to be in 5 to 7 days. So they could die in your wall. And if they die in your wall, that is a nightmare because then when their body starts decomposing, it off gases. And then you get a stench that you're like, it's in this region here. That means you are cutting open your wall, you are finding a dead rat or rats, and you are then replacing the insulation, and then you are replacing the sheetrock, and then you are painting the sheetrock. All the while, your tenants are having to be in that unit. Not recommended. I don't like poison. My preference is that they just go play somewhere else and not at my house. But recognizing that sometimes that's the only option, but those exterior boxes are good. But like I said, once they penetrated, it can be a huge problem. Let's see. Ironwood, I can find deals for myself. Yep, totally agree. I get it. Robert Farinelli, LVP is easy to install as carpet, in my opinion. It's just cutting and measuring. All nighter, agreed. All nighter hider. People that have not done flooring will get a huge wake up call doing all those burpees, getting up and down. Yes, that's true. That's very true. There was one other one here that I wanted to do too. All nighter hider. Any city hookups to a property are a contractual way for the state to get hooks in you. Yeah, largely speaking, yeah. Yeah, I mean that, and I can tell you, I've been able to do nothing about my sewer bills going up 100% in the last 3.5 years. 100%. This is the downside to lots of people working from their homes, is that the expense of water and sewer in a lot of small towns has gone through the roof. And so I can't do anything about that bill. I'm stuck, and it's on a city lot. So I can't put in a septic. I can't put in a well. I am a captive audience. Quite frankly, they can charge me whatever they want. And if it gets ridiculous, then at that time you have to look at something crazy that takes a lot of money and a lot of time, which is like a class action lawsuit. So not very cool. Dion, thoughts on that?
I agree. Like I said, I prefer septic. I prefer well whenever possible. I have a triplex, and the city, when I was closing on the deal, told me they would love for me to make it a fourplex. Add a unit. We'll help you. Everything will be streamlined. All you have to do is connect to city water or city sewer.
Yes.
So that's a triplex in perpetuitum.
Yes. Yes. Nicholas Massey, do you guys think over the next 5 years, homes go up an average of 4%, 20% in total? I don't think so, Dion.
So this is one of those great things where we disagree. I think we produced 80% of our currency in the last 2.5 years. And while it's gaining value against foreign currencies, it's greatly devalued here.
Mhm.
Home buyers buy based on payment. We're seeing record wage inflation from people shifting companies, not from getting the wage increase at their company. Even the small CDL school that I was at had to do a total of 3 pay increases, which were 20% once you aggregate them in the last year. And that barely kept up with what was going on with wages. So I see prices continuing to go up.
Yeah, I think we're going to see, I think next year, I think we're still net negative down. I think the following year, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure in the market from commercial stuff that's going to impact things on the residential side, maybe driving demand. My crystal ball is broken, but I think that, see, Dion's got, see, that's that. I would listen to his answer. He's clearly going to be right then. But that's what I would look at. Here's what I can tell you. Don't count for it in your spreadsheet. That's what I can tell you. Don't
count for rents to go up. Don't count for prices to go up. Don't wait counting on prices to come down. Always be looking for the great deal. Have a plan for if prices go up. Have a plan for if prices go down. Yep,
totally agree with that. Janelle Diaz will be answering questions back from the top. Probably not. Nope, just scroll back because most people are just like rolling in now and those people are here. So feel free to throw stuff in and I'll make sure to get to it. Vatzel, thank you so much for the $9.99. I appreciate that. Matt, trying a house hack. I'm having trouble making the numbers work when putting less than 20% down. Okay. Property will fail to cash flow, FHA rent requirement, and PMI added on the conventional loans. Okay. So give me the follow-up question to that, because I can take that a bunch of different directions. But Vatzel, thank you very much for the $9.99. I appreciate it. Robert Farinelli, city and water sewer sucks. Nashua just jacked up sewer rates 30% this year. Thank you for proving my point. It's exactly right. We have no control. So that has been, as much as my property taxes have gone up in the last 3 years, water and sewer has dwarfed them. It has dwarfed them.
Which sucks for the tenants.
Yes.
Because it's not like a landlord's going to sit here and go, yep, my costs went up. So that sucks. They go, well, my costs went up by 20%. So my rents are going up by 35%.
Yeah, absolutely. And Vatzel, you don't have to super chat me. Just, I want to know I don't see a question there. I do see a comment, and I think that I'm going to go down the right path, but hit me with exactly what the question is, and I will answer your question for you for sure. All nighter hider. I think M2 money supply went up by 40% the last 2 years. 80% seems a bit high. I think so. I think it is. I know the 40 number. I don't know about the 80 number. Robert Farinelli, expected because Nashua is just overflow housing from Massachusetts. It is. It is. All nighter hider. Got a call to make. Be back soon. Thanks, all nighter hider. Matthew Paris, work's been slow this year, so my reserves are low due to multiple smaller repairs this year over 5 properties. 14K in emergency maintenance fund, 10K in my operating cash, 2 months worth currently. Yes, I think you had a bigger question, Matthew, and I'll certainly answer it for you. But yeah, I think, I was talking to Mike about it, I think this last week. We're slowing down our acquisition. Before, we were willing to do a deal that was over 20%. Now it's got to be over 25% if we're going to do that deal, because we're putting money now. The make ready costs are in my budgets for figuring my return on capital, but it's still money that I have to spend. And it's not money that's coming from cash flow right now. It's money that I'm spending from reserves or spending from cash flow. So my cash flow this year is way down. When we did our books to get ready to talk to the amazing Bob Langworthy, who you guys are familiar with from the chat yesterday on One Rental at a Time, Bob is actually my EA. He's my enrolled agent, which is a step above a CPA. CPAs get certified on a state level. EAs get certified on a federal level, and they get tested on the tax code every single year. That's how they keep their EA license. So they are elite. He likes to say he's an enrolled agent. I like to say he's an elite agent because he is the best. But that 90 minutes that was on One Rental at a Time yesterday, I think it's posted today, absolutely worth watching. The other thing that I would tell you, though, in accordance with that, is I was looking at our numbers this year. I've spent so much money on cash flow. It was money I banked on cashing and banked on spending. But we've spent a lot of that cash flow, and some into our reserves to do the make ready to get better rents out of our units. And that's happened on about a dozen units. So it's increased cash flow, but it's still cost that's happening this year. Dion?
I was trying to formulate an answer, but it would just sound like bragging. I don't have any of those problems. My cash flow keeps growing and piling up, and I don't know what to do with it. But I wanted to ask,
rehab some of your units, man.
No, the tenants are happy. 3 things. We have a different format. Mine.
We do. Yes.
Safe, clean, functional.
Yes.
Rehab units in my area don't garner much more rent than, because literally everybody looks at area average, and area average doesn't say granite, or it probably wouldn't matter if it was cardboard countertops. You were going to get the same rents. But I have a couple questions for Vatsal about his super chat that he did on trying to get a house hack to cash flow going with a low FHA down payment, and then it might go better with conventional and no PMI.
Sure.
Is it a single family house? Because in a lot of areas, single family houses just don't cash flow. Are you doing small multifamily, but expecting it to cash flow while you live there? Are you waiting until, running the numbers like you've moved out already?
Yep.
And if it's a single family house or a duplex, in almost all cases, conventional is better. Your PMI goes away automatically. If your credit and your debt to income suck, FHA might be the only route for you. If you look at triplex or fourplex, sometimes FHA stands out a little bit because it's still only 3.5% down. But if you had to, you could do that and also do a higher down payment. It's a minimum of,
yes,
not a required low down. And then how are you calculating your rents? Are you looking at what's on the properties now, what area average rents are, what you think you would be able to get the rents to in a reasonable amount of time? I mean, there's like a lot of things to follow up there with that question to see how we can help you.
Yep. Yeah, that's great. Sammy Farho, thank you very much for the super sticker. That is a smiling fox. Thank you. I can only assume that it's geared towards Dion.
Crazy like a fox.
That's right. That too. Invest in Lynchburg. Not sure if you went over the 50-40-10 deal. I'm asking an agent now to help me connect with the seller. Not sure how this will play out. It's an at bat is what I'm telling myself. That's exactly right. It is an at bat. At bats are the most important thing in our game, because if you don't get the deal and you don't get a great deal, you still learn from the process. And it's that muscle memory that you want to create. Dion, thoughts on that?
So the seller financing thing's always like the 50-40-10. And there was a question earlier, almost at the beginning of the video today, on how do you find more seller financing deals? It's literally unique to each seller and how you educate that seller.
Yep.
And you can run into the problem where their agents also think it's illegal, or they'll say it's illegal because the agents think you're trying to cut them out anytime you're not using a traditional lender.
So this is a $1 million idea, and you guys are lucky enough to be watching the live stream today. The $1 million idea is this. I thought it, I did it, it got me a deal. Those are the only 3 facts that I really care about. Bankruptcy attorneys. Bankruptcy attorneys. People that do debt restructuring, chapter 7, chapter 11, chapter 13s, you need to be looking at bankruptcy attorneys. You need to be looking at those bankruptcy attorneys, and then also estate attorneys. You need to be looking at both of them. The reason for that is that that's how I found this deal. I was dropping off a check for another deal that I was doing. I had the conversation with him and he goes, huh. So talk to me about this 50-40-10 concept. We talked about it for 10 minutes. He didn't bill me for his time because he's an attorney, thankfully. We went through it and he goes, I have an idea for you. I have someone I think this works with. Within 10 days, we had signed contract within 10 days. It was that straightforward. So fish where the fish are. And what do we know about every bankruptcy attorney? They are working on debt restructure. They are working on some sort of a plan to help save their client. We want to find people that need a solution. I knew that they needed a solution. Maybe it was me, maybe it was reverse mortgage, maybe it was any of these other number of options, but I got to at least be an option. And because I wasn't some nameless, faceless person pitching them on the phone, I was able to sit in front of them and say, this is how I think we can structure it. What are your thoughts? They're like, we'd love to try to do this if we could. It is a massive benefit for them. Here are the brief numbers. $285,000, their price based on appraisal. I paid their price. I got my terms. 50% mortgage on the upfront. Velocity Mortgage is going to get the first note on the property. 50% at 7.25%. Oh, 7.25%. That is one of the highest I've ever paid for a mortgage. 7.25% on 50% of the deal. They're holding a 40% note on the next 40% of the deal. And I am paying them to make the numbers work 2.5%. I'm kicking in 10% money, which is $28,500 plus closing costs. And I am going to be able to do a lease back rent to them. I don't even have to find another tenant. I can do a lease back rent to them for their own home. They get the note and I reduce their cost by $400 a month of what they were currently paying the bank. And part of their loan was actually adjustable. So I just locked in their payment and I don't have to do anything more than that. And they are ecstatic. Dion, thoughts?
It's probably an overshare, and I didn't act on this and I haven't done a deal, but I had a similar idea. I don't know if anybody's familiar with my content because I'm a guest on your channel, but I am also, one of the benefits of being financially free is I get to be a pirate minister for free, and I do weddings. So I've gone to file for some, file the certificate for people a couple of times. And my first time there, when I was filing the certificate at the county marriage building, whatever it's called, I thought, man, there's a lot of people here. There's a lot of people getting married. They all look upset. And they all came by themselves. Like, why aren't they together? And then it dawned on me that the same place you file a marriage certificate is where you file for divorce. So yes, bankruptcy attorneys, but maybe divorce attorneys.
Yeah.
Because you can solve someone's problem. You can be the thing that takes away the biggest stressor in whatever event's going on in their life. Haven't done it, but because all my deals are from the MLS with traditional lending. But if I was doing more creative things, there are a lot of pools where you can fish where the fish are.
Yeah. Fish where the fish are. I've got some now seeing how this has worked. I'm now making my list of local attorneys that handle bankruptcy, debt restructuring, tax liens and things like that. Like, We can go right down that path. You protect yourself by making sure that the title is insured. Because if do not shortcut anything. I'm still using an attorney. I'm still using a closing company. They have to verify and ratify that deed is in fact insurable and that the title is insurable. Don't take any shortcuts. I see Alexander Biniam. Alexander, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dion.
Before you do that, we have Vatsal's answer, but then we'll jump into Alexander.
Here, let's see that's
right below that, two
here you go.
messages down.
Thank you for answering my question. I'm looking at a house with an ADU and up to a fourplex. I love it. Calculating cash flow with all units rented out. Okay. Looking at Zillow and Rentometer to get rents.
So that's the two things I would have issues with. Right.
Yep. Yeah. I think the biggest issue that Dion and I both have is Zillow and Rentometer rents. You need to be doing a rent box like I've taught on my channel, where you're actually tracking rents on the 3 most likely places that units get rented out in your area. They largely are going to be Facebook. It's usually Facebook, Craigslist, and apartments.com are usually the big 3, but there could be others, maybe one that's like a local favorite, like a local Facebook message board, as opposed to just Facebook, another piece of Facebook, like people just posting like realtors. So I would encourage you, look at the type of units, really get familiar with your rents, because you might be surprised deals that you're already looking at may already be cash flowing where you need them to be, because Rentometer and Zillow are often very far off on rents.
Yeah, I just did a live stream about a month ago where I literally pulled up, let me find out rents on a tenant turnover that I've got going on, and Rentometer was 30% low. Okay, averages I was finding was 22 to 2,400. Rentometer said 18 something.
Yep.
Like it was that far off. And that was on the 3-month model. You can look at Rentometer and set it to 1 year historical data or 3-month historical data. And even at 3 months, rents had changed so much that it was off. So like Matt said, make a rent box. Like you yourself are currently trying to rent a property.
That's right.
I'm not saying don't use Zillow, but Zillow is one of them.
Right.
Zillow, Redfin, apartments.com, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, because you don't know what in your area, which one of those platforms is going to have the most traffic on it and give you the best ability to get an average. And it takes somewhere between 1 to 2 weeks to figure out your average, because just because you see properties listed at a price doesn't mean that's the rents.
That's right.
If they rent in like it's up and gone in a few hours, it's too low. If it's up and it's still there at 2 weeks later, it's too high. So it takes a bit of time to figure out what your average is.
Yeah, that rent box will save you all that. There is a video on my channel talking about the rent box. Make sure you take a look at it. Vatsal, what is the best way to move forward? Look to expand my buy box or something else? My recommendation would be, I would still stay with the same buy box. I would create the rent box because that will give you a much better understanding of rents, but then do Dion's thing, which is you pick the point where you want to invest. And then you start building circles around that, a 10-minute, 20-minute, 30-minute drive circle, because most people won't drive more than 30 or 35 minutes to get to work. So I would strongly recommend putting that type of thing into place, because you might not end up investing in the town that you want, but you likely will find a better return. So if you've spent 90 days working that territory and you've seen what those numbers are and you get that rent box corrected for it, I would be adding a second city or a second town. Or now that you know how to do it, it's going to be more to track. It's going to be more time, but I think it's probably best worth it with doing the rent box first in your existing territory. And then if that doesn't work out, building the circle situation like Dion talks about. Dion, your thoughts?
Yeah, at some point you'll get this equilibrium where prices and rent start to balance out. And then you have to decide, is that within where you're willing to invest?
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, because don't just do it based on return, because if you're going into a demilitarized zone where everything is a D class, that's not where you want to be. Not ever as a landlord. There's guys that make a living doing that, but they're big. They're not small. All right, Alexander Biniam, thank you for the $4.99. I appreciate you taking the time to ask the question. Also, welcome to the channel. Would you refi on properties where you can pull out 150K at 7.5% to buy in an upcoming recession? My thought was refi in a few later. Dion, I'll let you go first on this one.
Okay, so I'm going to try to not be as adamant as I want to sound. No. So last year, when rates were under 3%, Lumberjack Landlord and Michael Zuber tried to peer pressure me into
Yes.
cash out refinancing about $350,000 out of a paid off property to be ready for a recession.
Mhm.
4 out of the last 6 recessions, home prices went up. A recession doesn't mean prices are going to come down. One of the ones where it went down, the housing crash, is what caused the recession. So no, and refinancing in a few, you're gambling on rates coming down, and it's entirely possible that they go above 10 and stay there for the next 30 years. You could be gambling on that. So if you take it out at 7.5, it's going to be at 7.5. What are the odds that you would find a deal to put your money to work in a property that not only can cash flow with the purchase, but justify the debt on the existing asset? If you have a deal that is so amazing, like it's such a good deal that you know you would get the return and you know they would accept your offer, yes. Right now, I would not be cash out refinancing, taking out a home equity line of credit or anything, banking on prices to come down, because if prices come down, it's going to be caused by interest rates going up. So your cost is more. If prices go up and interest rates come down, you're still not saving any money. You might be able to refinance in that situation, but that's a big gamble. Refinancing out, a lot of people say things like, I'm going to use my equity. I'm going to tap the equity in that property. And really what it is, the definition of what you're doing is adding debt to an existing asset, reducing the cash flow on that asset.
Mm-hmm.
And then it also comes down to what is your goal. If your goal is to add as many units as possible and you're not worried about cash flow, maybe it might look a little better. My goal was as much cash flow with the least number of properties. I might not even want to have the 16 units that I have. I might try to reduce that and increase the cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, I was trying not to be adamant because it's a great question.
It is.
This is a resource I could use.
Yeah.
Would you guys use it? I'm saying no. My personal opinion, had the opportunity to when interest rates were less than half of what they are now,
Right.
and still chose not to do it.
Yep. Just going to regret that one forever. Not now, but not today.
No, not ever.
Not ever.
There's Matt. So look, I try not to brag. Matt, there's $500,000 sitting in an account.
Yes.
I haven't put it in a deal yet. Had I done a cash out, I'd have $750,000 sitting there and paying interest on some of it. I will never regret not messed because I don't want more units.
That's true. That's
more units is not my goal. You have to understand what's
true.
The end goal.
True. And that really, that's the most valuable advice. All of that is important, but that's the most valuable advice. What's your end goal? Right. For me, I was trying to accelerate my business. So I was able to do that. And I believe that we were at the best value ever with where rates were and where values were. My properties have gone up another 10% since I refied. Don't care. I got sub 4 rates on a bunch of stuff. I think my combined rate on all 23 was like 4.03 or something like that on all 23 refis I did. And that created 7 figures twice. So here's what I would recommend to you. This is from my point of view. I would not refi at 7.5 to pull 150. I would go through, spend under $1,000 and get a HELOC. And then you don't pay unless you use it, but you have it as security. But recognize that the bank could also shut that thing down. So there's two strategies with a HELOC. One, you get the HELOC, now you have it, it's all approved. The money's sitting there, it's based on the higher value of your home. All that's good. But it's sitting there, but it can be shut off and taken away at any time. If you know that you're going to do a deal in the next 6 months, no matter what, you're doing a deal, period, end of story. If you know that's going to happen, other people have done with that strategy. They've gotten their HELOC, they pulled the money out, put it in their account, but now they're paying interest on a monthly basis. What you want to make sure is you're looking at the rate and the cost of that money. If that HELOC's coming out at 4.5% or 5%, okay, now we're talking. If it's coming out at 9 or 10, that's a much more difficult strategy to navigate and not one. I don't know if you're a newbie or a medium or a serious investor. I don't know any of that stuff, but those are just that's what I would put through the evaluation. So hopefully that helps, Alexander.
2 things on that, Alexander, if you choose to do it. Because remember, even though I said I wouldn't, that doesn't mean it's the right way. There is no one right way to do real estate. There's a right way for you. So if you end up doing a refinance or taking out the HELOC, there's 2 things to consider. If you do a refinance, get a second mortgage. Don't refinance the current debt, which is
That's right.
probably a lot less than
That's
7.5%.
right.
So don't touch that one. Get a second mortgage. If you go with the home equity line of credit line, understand, like Matt said, they can close it down if lending fees get high enough with no reason whatsoever. It's their money, their paperwork. They could just say, yep, we've closed down all home equity lines of credit. When you have a home equity line of credit, if you take the money out, like Matt said, because you know you're going to do a deal, great. If you don't, you can end up just putting it back. You've paid some interest for a few months. But while you have the ability to borrow the money, so if you have a home equity line of credit of $150,000 that you could take out to buy a property, 1% of that counts against your debt to income ratio. They estimate about 1% would be your payment. So they would add $1,500 per month in payment as against your debt to income ratio on the property that you're purchasing. So make sure you talk to a lender to find out what your options are, and then choose the route that looks the best for you once you have that, like, the information to make an informed decision.
Absolutely. And that's all to tie this out for yours. Thank you again. I'm trying not to let my ego get in the way. How do you be happy with getting a single for your first property instead of chasing a home run and not getting anything? That's so when I closed almost all of my deals in the beginning, none of them were home runs, none of them were triples, none of them were doubles. They were all singles. Every single one, when I first started out, they were all singles. As you do this longer, as you get better, as you see the levers and the knobs to be played with and pulled, that is what starts to create bigger value in deals. That's the first thing. Second thing is getting in the game is the more important thing here, and learning what you can do better. How, understanding, do you even like being a landlord? Is it even your personality type? Do you enjoy it? Does it something where it's like, oh my word, every single time my phone rings now, I have PTSD and I start shaking? That happens with some people that get into landlording. And so I think the best thing that you can do is, I think it's important that you are seeing that it might be an ego thing. Singles matter too. And I can tell you almost every deal that I had when I was in the beginning looked like a single. And now every single one of them is an absolute freaking grand slam. I have deals that I bought that I then reinvested in, that I then refied in, and their margin was maybe a few $100 a month. Now it's a few $1,000s a month on my same fixed rate debt. And I refied it this year and pulled another $200,000 out of the property. That one deal had babies, lots of babies. It's got 4 babies out there. That one deal made 4 babies. Those 4 babies might not have been home runs, but they were doubles or a triple here and there. And now that one deal has led to 4 babies that do probably, from doing that one deal 14 years ago, it's led to, not being aggressive, it's led to probably $12,000 a month net income from doing that one deal because of the babies that went off and had. Dion, thoughts? Because I know you've done the same.
No, I'm really glad you put it that way. One of the mistakes that we can make as a new investor, and it's one that the Three Amigos often try to warn against, is don't compare someone's year 10 to year 1.
Yeah, exactly.
At year 10, if you're financially free, you're not really trying to add units, probably not going to buy a first base hit. And I'm actually going to make a sports ball reference here. But when you're starting out, like, since I don't need properties, I'm probably only going to go for the really, really good deal, right? And then I'll probably make a video about it. But that's not how they all work. Last year, I bought a duplex that was just a base hit. But when you put all the properties together over a few years, you start racking up your RBIs. You have one deal that is creating cash flow that can help you make mistakes on another deal. You have it's a lot easier to go in and get flooring done when you walk into the building and you go, hey, I have 16 units, I'm looking to get flooring done on one. All of a sudden there's 3 people that come out to your floor to try to help you. I can't imagine when you have 121 that, Matt, you go in and they call you, they bring you coffee, they ask if there's anything you can have that day.
It's
like
true.
Each one of those deals that you get done is going to make the other deals easier. So in the beginning, I think base hits are great. And like Matt said, 3 to 5 years later, it makes you look like a genius. Like, there's no point in time where if you bought a rental and you had it for more than 5 years, even in 2008, you buy a rental, rents went up in 2009 and 10, so you looked smart, but values by 2013 started going above where they were in 2008. So if you held it long enough, even then after the biggest crash, that I know of in my lifetime, as far as real estate goes, you still looked smart. It's that I heard about such a great deal, or you have a great deal, like your first one, if you get they just knock it out of the park. Your next one, you're going to feel like you failed if it's just like a good return on a good rental. And Matt said it, the experience of buying and getting on the property ladder is important. The 4 words I like to use is confidence comes from competence.
Yes.
And each time you do something, you get a little better at it. And as you get better at all the little skills that come together and make you a good investor, you're going to start seeing things that you wouldn't see in the beginning because you have that fear fog of the mistakes you can make. But once you've got 1 or 2 deals down and you get rid of in the beginning, we have this fear of, what do you mean I'm going to pay for an appraisal on a property I might not get? Like the appraisal could be the reason I don't get. You want me to pay for that? And then I'm going to pay for an inspection. I'm going to literally pay somebody to inspect a property that I could still back out of. I'm spending money. And eventually at the 3rd or 4th deal, you start thinking those are the best things you're doing. I hope for the appraisal to come in a little low to help me negotiate. I hope that the inspection shows me the reasons I should back out of the deal or the things I can use to negotiate the price with the seller. Like all of that becomes a skill instead of this fear of I'm spending money on things that might not benefit me. So yeah, I think base hits are perfect in the beginning.
They really are. Yeah. And it's then how you build your portfolio off of that. That's a huge thing. Dion always likes to say a recession is when your neighbor loses their job and a depression is when you lose your job. I always like to say you're a new investor when you have to go to the bank for the money. You're a seasoned investor when they come to you asking if you want any. It's absolutely what. Okay.
That's a Zuber quote, just the one you
attributed
to me. I stole that from Zuber. Yeah. So I'm not taking credit for that. He says it over and over. I say it a lot because I usually I'm with Mike and I go, hey, there's this really smart investor I know that says this. And
got it.
It's Zuber. Yeah.
So, and well, the bank thing's my quote. So that's absolutely happened. I literally have gotten the calls from 3 banks that I've done business with of, do you have any projects that you're looking at? They're not asking because they're interested in my day. They're asking because they would like to be the bank that partners with me to give me the money for that deal. So I would strongly encourage you, and I strongly encourage people to start a relationship with smaller local banks. Try and look for a bank that has $1 billion in assets or less. But you can go up to kind of 2 billion. You want to find that they have kind of 3 to 7 locations. And that will probably serve you well because your name will start to mean something and you'll be able to trade on that currency in the bank when you do good things.
2 questions I would like to make sure we get to here.
Yeah.
Sean and Wendy, God is amazing. Matt, thanks for all you do. We are just starting. Do not have many questions, just one. Where do you live? Is most of your properties in your town? If not, where? Thanks. So do you invest locally or at a distance?
I invest locally. So I live, currently I live over on the coast, sort of on the coast. So the Dover area, Dover, New Hampshire area is where I do most of my investing. I invested where I lived. That was always a key for me. I never wanted to be more than 20. The original rule was never more than an hour. And then I realized I hate the hour. So now it's never more than a half an hour. And then we moved and now it's like nothing's more than kind of like 15, 20 minutes away. But because we have so many economic drivers in that small of an area, I felt comfortable doing that. We have a base. We have Liberty Mutual. We have some big time brands that have their global headquarters here. Sig Sauer, their global headquarters is here. Ruger is about 45 minutes away. So there's a lot of big time. And then we also have what used to be Pease Air Force Base and is now Pease Trade Port. That is massive, where there's a ton of businesses because any jumbo jet can land there because it was originally built for DC-10s, which are the big troop carriers that carry 500 guys. So, and then, yes, all in my own town. And you're welcome. I saw that. Thanks, Matt and Dion. Appreciate you both.
Yeah. So Sean and Wendy, I think if you're looking at yourself, it's invest where you have that advantage.
Yes.
If you live close, you know the current neighborhoods where you should stay out of or could invest in, and it would be good. If you're investing at a distance, I recommend Millennial Mike. He actually does that. He has several videos on his channel here on YouTube, talking about how he chose his market, what mattered to him, how to develop his team, boots on the ground. We're trying to peer pressure him into doing live streams like this and answer questions too. So working on that.
True.
The next question, I think this came up earlier and Alyssa put it in again.
Yes. Yep. I want to
How
make
would you
sure
structure a
know
deal with a co-signer? We are house hacking together, but I found the deal, did all the work, bringing down payment and bringing reserves. What's fair for her risk in the deal?
Oh,
I have a couple of thoughts while you put yours
you
together.
first. Yeah, you first. But I'm going to say
So
nice.
what are you using from the person that didn't put the deal together, bring the money? Are you using their house hack? Are they the one moving in? Are you taking up one of their 10 mortgages that they can have in their name? So like there are things that that person is giving up, even though they didn't find the deal, do the work, bring the money. In an instance where I would have a family member move in for the ability to use the house hack, I would literally just go with reduced rent for the year that's required for the intent to live there. And then have it in contract, in writing right now, while everybody's getting along, that you're going to refinance them out and take their name off the mortgage after a few years at no benefit other than the reduced rent for now, if they'll agree to that. It depends on, are they forever giving up one of their 10 mortgages they can have in their name? Are they forever impacting their income ratio without getting the rental income to offset it and help them buy rentals in the future? Like there's a lot that they're giving up that I would want to have in writing now while everybody's happy with each other, because when there's a disagreement in the future, that is not going to be the emotional state you want to be in while you're trying to put things on paper.
I don't do deals with other people. Not
people?
a thing. Yeah. Okay. But Alyssa she done a video with me about her house hacking journey. It's on the channel. She's absolutely amazing. I'm a huge fan. I saw the question, knew I was going to answer it. So Alyssa, what I would tell you is, try to find an alternative. I don't know. So I don't know for what reason that you're using the cosigner. So I don't know if it's an income thing. If that's the case, I would be looking at like a DSCR. I would look at a DSCR loan. I would look at some other way to do it without the cosigner. But you know how to hit me up. Hit me up and give me why you're doing it that way, and I'll talk you through it unless you want to share it. So I'm fine with that. I wanted to call out John, Texas real quick. Hitting singles is great. Focus on getting the guy from first to home plate. When that happens, you'll be grateful for the base hits. You only get the base hits if you're executing and if you're in the game. If you're not in the game and you're just in the stands, then why are we doing this? So it's that 10,000 moments of preparation that equals that one moment of opportunity and the likelihood that you'll succeed. That's what it comes down to. How many guys, Big Papi was a bench player for the Minnesota Twins that stunk. He was a bench player for them for years. Comes to the Red Sox. He's a Hall of Fame baseball player because he stayed in the game. He kept on working. He kept on trying. That organization just wasn't a fit for him. The Red Sox were. There's a lot of examples like that in history where other people disregard things and they think that that's what that person is forever. And then a switch flips and something changes and that person becomes amazing at what they do. Dion?
I was going through looking for other questions.
Okay.
I have one here from Jeremy Kirkwood, which I will give the Cliff Notes version of.
Yes.
Is divorce on the rise? And Jeremy, and this is from the heart, the more we can keep marriage down, the less divorces there will be.
Divorce is on the rise. Everyone got an extra fill of their spouse in the last 2.5 years.
You found out who you were living with when you actually had to work there, homeschool there. Yes. So I don't know that it's on the rise though, but I've worked in law enforcement and military where the divorce rate is in the 70s and there's multiples. So it's not like nobody's getting their first divorce when you're talking to them. So to me, it's just always been huge. Do you see the not another one right under Jeremy's?
Sorry.
Looking at two deals.
Okay.
A small duplex with an 80 ADA basement. Cash on cash is 17%, or a fourplex with cash on cash is 14%. List the cap rates, but when you're buying 4 units or less, to me, cap rate means literally nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So better cash on cash with a duplex or fourplex. 17% on the duplex, 14% on the fourplex. Which way would you go, Matt?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Because I think it's so close. I might take the lower return for the bigger number.
That's what I would do. It's the couple of reasons. One, you can only have 10 mortgages in your name when you're working on residential.
That's
and 10
right.
fourplexes is significantly better than 10 duplexes. But second, let's say next year you do a $100 rent increase per unit. What's the return look like then when you're adding, 4 increases versus 2 increases? Same reason, same justification I look at a duplex compared to a single family. You do 1 rent increase on a house or 2 on the duplex. So in that case, that close, I'd be looking at the fourplex.
Yeah, the more units, the bigger the multiplier, right? Because it might be that way right now, but it might not end up that way. You might end up much further ahead. And then I see we've got celebrities, Cody and Christian, multifamily strategy.
We have a couple of celebrities here.
And Beth's right behind them.
Yeah.
Jeez. Apparently they had some time to kill.
now.
Yeah, apparently they had some time to kill on a Sunday morning. What's up, Cody and Christian? So for those of you who don't know Cody and Christian, definitely check out their channel. They're awesome guys. They have a fantastic multifamily strategy. Cody and Christian as a team are absolutely fantastic. I think their partnership is going to be amazing. I was on their channel, did a fantastic interview, mostly because of them asking the right questions. But it was fantastic to spend some time with those guys. But definitely check out their channel. They're multifamily investing. They have a phenomenal course, and they have built their business amazingly, essentially with all non-bank debt. It's all been seller finance debt. So they really are tapped into that market, and they're really good at what they do.
Definitely a channel to study as far as seller financing goes.
Yes.
Their strategies on developing the relationships, I think, can help everybody. Matthew Paris, we are seeing your comments. Here is, and you can let me know if I get this wrong. Mm-hmm. You have a bunch of repairs coming up. You have about $14,000 in the bank. What makes more sense to you? To take out a loan at 7% to pay for the repairs, or to use your $14,000 to make the repairs and then not have a good reserve sitting there? What would you choose, Matt?
I would, so let me just roll back.
So if you're looking for it.
Yes.
I myself have used my own money. I would not create debt to make repairs, and then I would focus all cash flow into building those reserves back up. If you have enough things coming up that can create at least $14,000 in repairs, your reserve needs to be more than that. Yeah. And that is what your reserve is for. The reserve is there to handle these kind of repairs and maintenance without causing you to create more debt, because that debt is going to cost you more to rebuild than emptying out your reserves. Maybe not go all the way to zero. Have other reserves. There was a time where I bought a fourplex and my reserve became my retirement account, which I didn't tap or touch, just had to have it. And about $17,000 in credit cards that had zero balances on them, so that I could, if I had to, cover future repairs. So that's what I would do. I would use my money and quit and funnel, like literally go as frugal as you could until you rebuilt those reserves. And then remember that going forward, the way I invest, if it's the way that, hopefully I'm sharing with you that you can copy, is 10% of gross rents and 5%, for repairs and maintenance, and 5% for vacancy. So 15% of gross rents is always ready to be set aside to fill up a reserve account, so that when those reserves are used, I don't feel like I would be using my $14,000. That would be $14,000 that the tenants put into an account that I use to make those repairs, and then the tenants refill that account.
So I would take the 7 points debt. I would take it, and I would just make that a priority on paying it back. You get 2 bonuses from that. One is you make sure that you have cushion, and that you got the cushion when you could get the cushion. So I always am a fan of trying to get a cushion and create cushion. If you take that debt at the 7 points, then you do the work, and then you can focus paying that money back. So I would not be making any major expenditures and counting that money that you would get in that loan as sort of a reserve. But I would use other people's money, and I would then pay that back. That way, if an emergency does pop and you really do need money, you still have that $14K in reserve there. So I like using, I take debt like that, because I take it, I use it, I pay it off, and then I don't ever have to touch my capital. And that way, if something goes really sideways, I still have my 14 that I can run through, but I ran through that other stuff first. That's what I've done in the past. Dion? You looking for the next question?
No one right way to do it. Both
Yeah.
strategies work. And that's, so we both covered how we would do that.
Yeah, Matthew Paris asking because loss of income this year. Yeah, so that's what I would do. I take debt when I can get it because I can always pay it back. Consider the logic. That call is taking longer than usual. A&H here on another account. I don't know what that means.
Here's a question from Majid.
Yes, Majid.
Hi, Matt. I know this is a CPA question.
Go ahead. Yep.
But like to know your experience. Can my investment property loss depreciation write off against my W-2 income? My CPA says no. So here's the answer. For me this year and last year, no. For Matt last year, yes. Please explain why.
So we actually, Ashley is a real estate professional. That's a designation. That's not a license. She is a real estate professional. And so because she spends more than 750 hours a year working on our properties, i.e. the books, managing them, fielding phone calls from tenants, coordinating projects, doing bank deposits, all of the things associated with running our business, because she spends more than 750 hours a year, we were able to take that as a write-off. That's how we did it. Or that's how my accountant, Bob Langworthy, did it. You can look him up on Maine Bean Counters, or Bean Counting Bob is another one that he goes under. And Bob is spectacular. I'm a huge fan.
I'll let you pick the next one.
Okay. Nicholas Massey, do people still rent property that don't have laundry? Yes. Friends of mine are having trouble renting and have decided to add hookups outside the unit with a cover for $3,500. Is that a good price for the work? It's really locally dependent. I can tell you that for me to put in drain piping, a water heater, feeds, flooring, sheetrock, insulation in an area, it cost me about $10,000 to build that out. But it was so I could give laundry to 6 units. So I think that for me, it will take years for that to pay off, but I think I get higher rents and I think I get people to stick longer. However, yes, it really depends. There's a lot of young professionals that, so long as you give them the area where that does wash and fold for a cheap price, they'll just drop it off and do wash and fold. But I agree that largely you're going to get a tenant that's there longer with washer and dryer. You're going to get a tenant that will likely pay more for washer and dryer for the convenience. And it will eliminate or drastically reduce the likelihood that they're going to move on.
Yeah, one of my criteria is washer dryer hookups in the unit. So I've contacted a couple of contractors around here. General quote in my area to add in-unit washer dryer hookups is around 5,000. So outside 1,500 less seems like that would be about right. Get a couple quotes, just like any other kind of deal. But your friend is having trouble renting it out, probably because they're expecting to get the same rents as area average of places that do have laundry. Right. And you're talking like a 20% discount if there's not laundry in it. And even then, people living in a unit that don't have laundry in the unit, that are using shared laundry or a laundromat, are just waiting for a place to open that does have it. So you're going to have a higher turnover. So to me, it would be worth the investment. And then probably, and you're not going to get more rents than area average because you have a washer dryer. The area average generally includes washer dryer.
It's true. Financial firefighter. We love the name. Morning from Hawaii. I like to relate it to surfing. You can't catch any waves by sitting on the beach. That's true. Have to be in the water and just be prepared to catch the wave coming. Some big and some small. It's exactly right.
Yeah, I ran a truck driving school for the last 13 years, and it's really hard to learn how to drive a parked truck.
I would imagine. In my business, in sales and training reps, the thing that we would always say is asses and elbows, meaning you got to be in the seat making the phone calls. And the second thing that we would say is they're not just going to call you. They don't know who you are. You're going to need to call them. Next, did you want to do another? I know that we got 110 here, so we've been doing this for almost 2 hours. We got a little bit more time. So if anybody has any super chats, we're happy to handle those. And if not, we'll try and handle a couple more questions before we part for the day. I have a contractor waiting for a call.
So while she's here, if she's still there, I'm looking forward to Beth bringing her kids over to the truck driving school. We have the simulators to practice. I think she has some teenagers. We're going to have them drive school buses around on a safe, closed course. Should be fun.
That's awesome. It's the best. And Beth is the best. Does Beth have her own channel yet?
A big yet on there. Well,
Yeah.
Peer pressure, peer pressure, peer pressure.
Let's go, Beth. You have things to add. Beth is an amazing investor, realtor, business owner in the Pacific Northwest. I encourage you guys to search for her online. She's, like I said, investor, business owner, and a broker.
And I actually think I owe her a pony, so I might have you help me pick it out, and we'll just have it shipped to her house, and it'll just show up randomly one day.
Perfect. Perfect. No channel yet. Good answer, Beth. Good answer. I see that Nicholas put another one in here. Great information as always. Thank you. Maybe I missed the answer, but is a 15-year mortgage ever smart for landlords when rates are good? I don't like them. You can always pay off the loan in 15 years if you so choose. But if there's ever tough times, if there's ever a challenge, and trying to find a property that cash flows on a 15 is really, really hard. Dion probably hated my answer, so go ahead.
No, this is a great answer. I absolutely agree. So the universe is breaking. So here's the thought on the 15-year mortgage. Is it good? I would prefer a 1,000-year mortgage. It is not my goal or intent to ever have mortgages paid off. I don't care if they're paid off. I actually wish I had more debt. Cash flow set me free, not equity, not paid off properties. Your debt balance is a factor in your cash flow. So yes, I want to be buying properties that cash flow. Significantly easier to get a deal to cash flow with a 30 or a 40. Currently, I've been looking at some of those loans from Convoy Home Loans on 40-year mortgages. Yeah. They don't offer the 1,000. I asked. So if there are a lot of people who come from the Dave Ramsey camp where debt is bad and you want to get out of debt as soon as possible, and you don't want to retire with any debt, you don't want to give your kids any debt, you're going to give your kids the same amount of equity no matter what you do. Like the tenants pay off those loans over a long enough period of time.
That's right.
And ownership of a property means nothing to me.
That's right.
Stop paying your insurance and your property taxes and see what happens after you have a mortgage paid off. Cool. So no, to me, I would not ever look at a 15-year mortgage. And I'm considering longer than 30 whenever it's possible.
Yeah, for sure. Alex Biniam. All right, we'll make this the last question since it's a super chat. So thanks for the replies. You're very welcome. I have 7 years experience, 6 total units, 4 units cash flow, 15% cash on cash. Outside of HELOCs, what second mortgage options are there out there? Dion, have you had any experience with seconds?
No, because I've never done a cash out refinance, a home equity line of credit, or sold to I don't recycle capital, I recycle cash flow. But I have worked with several people who've done second mortgages. You just contact the same lenders. So it would be the same order of operations for me. I would start with a large lender like Bank of America or Wells Fargo because their lending criteria is the most standardized. So they're going to give you a basic idea of what your options are. And then I would go out and check with your local credit unions and smaller banks that are local to you, and check with Guild Mortgage, Fairway Mortgage, the type of brokers like that. Maybe contact Matt, the mortgage guy, and have him connect you with his representative that's closest in your area. And then compare rates, literally get in writing from each lender what they would offer as a second mortgage, and then trade them with lenders and say, this is what your competition is offering. What are you willing to do to beat them and keep my business and get the best rates and best terms? Because it's not always just rates. It can be terms like buying down the rate. Can be like I've seen 20% of the value like at one lender compared to the other. It wasn't like, oh, it would be 20% less. It was 20% of the value to buy down the rates. So you can get them to do all kinds of things. And it was actually something that a lender taught me. She said, I can't go to my boss and say, I really like Dion. Can we just give him a better rate? She said, if I have something in writing from another lender, I could take
That's
that
right.
to my boss and say, here's what we need to beat to keep the business.
Yeah, that's right. I think that you're much more limited on investment properties with second mortgages. It's going to be really hard and the rates are going to be really, really bad. So the one thing that I would look at is there is HELOC availability on investment properties. Convoy Mortgage is the big one that's doing that right now. And again, it's a little bit expensive, but it might be worth it. It might be the thing that you have a great deal that's going to basically pay that rate. The real big thing that you want is you want to be careful on interest rate risk. You know, those HELOCs, they can go to 12, 13, 14%. Just keep that in mind, because if you use that to buy an asset that's only making you 10, you're negative on that deal. I had a deal like that flip on me in 08. And it was one where I had to take money out of pocket every month to pay for the delta on that thing. And it was just because rates went nuts. So that's everything that I had. Dion, any other things you wanted to cover before we shut for the day? Your live stream.
No, I appreciate everybody coming and hanging out with us. I mean, there was just some great questions. I'm hoping that you and I can get better at seeing a super chat and finding the questions, because
Yes,
the system is stupid. Like,
well,
it's
the other
based
thing
on
too
the
is that the
amount
super chat limits.
super chat is how much you can fit in there.
Yes.
So if you get it, we need to like look 3 or 4 comments below, 3 or 4 comments above to make sure we're finding the whole question.
And we are rule breakers, so we will continue to do that. Just bear with us as we suffer these technical difficulties. So it is t-shirt time. And I found out this week that the t-shirts that have been previously won are still in a package in one of my vehicles. They were not mailed. So I apologize, but they are going to be mailed this week. So hard to get good help these days.
Nice.
All right, so we will give the good old dice a roll. We won't use the 100-sided dice because there weren't that many super chats, but we will still use the dice regardless. 16. We'll see if there were 16. So there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There were 14. There were 14. So close. All right, I'm going to roll again. Actually, you know
I don't
what?
have a 14-sided dice. I haven't.
No, it's all
4,
right.
6, 8, 10, 12, 20. So,
Well, yeah, so then you got to use 20 then, right?
yeah.
All right, so then we roll again. Here we go. 12. So 2 backwards. So that's Alex. That is Sammy Farho. Sam Farho. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Sam, send me lumberjacklandlord@gmail.com. Send me an email with your shirt size and your address, and I will get that out to you this week. So Dion, live stream this Tuesday.
When should you retire? That's my live stream, Tuesday, 4 p.m. And it's not what you think. It actually has nothing to do with your finances.
Very interesting. Now I definitely have to watch it.
It's gonna have to put that in the thumbnail somehow. You know, when should you retire? It's not about money. I'm gonna write that down.
It's not about money.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I don't
no
have a pen
problem.
here. It's weird.
Not about money. Got it. We got it. Well, as I always like to say, so Dion's live stream, 4 o'clock Pacific time on Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. He goes for 90 minutes and he will answer those questions that are there. And live stream on, so that's Tuesday night. And then we do 3 Amigos. I think we're back to Thursday this week.
So I don't know if you saw the video yet, Matt. So last week I gave away 3 copies of the audiobook, and somebody won 2, so they got a different, I think like a Rich Dad Poor Dad too.
Nice.
I'm going to be making an audible version of One Rental at a Time
Okay.
to replace the first book to get rid of the robot voice.
Glutton for punishment.
Mike's figuring out if he can do it without losing the 1,000 reviews he has so far, and maybe do like a second edition or a second version of the Audible.
That makes sense.
But it takes forever, so it'll be at least probably a couple months before it's done. But yeah.
You are a glutton for punishment.
I guess. I just want to get the information out to people without having to sit through a bad recording.
Yeah, true.
And
Yeah.
not that mine's good. It's just I'm hoping better than a robot.
Oh, it's better than the robot voice. I've listened to, yeah, that was
Good.
rough. But as I always like to say, please hit that like and subscribe button. Please make sure you hit the like button before you leave. Certainly subscribe, but we appreciate all y'all, appreciate all your questions. They were fantastic today. You guys have a great week, and we'll get updates on the lead order this week, and we will get updates on my creative financing deal this week as well. Dion, thanks so much for making time on your Sunday to hang out with me. And you still have your whole day left. It's only going to be like 10:30 there in the next 10 minutes. So
I've saved up enough energy for a nap. Like every other day.
Yeah, I was going to say, and that's different from what day. So guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. Lumberjack Landlord, looking forward to having a great week this week, and looking forward to your stories and live streams next week, and see you guys on Dion's live stream on Tuesday and Mike Zuber's live stream Saturday, 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great, great day.
Ciao.
Wonderful.